Hey guys, welcome into the show. My name is Tyler Kluver. I'm a former Division 1 athlete. I now run a fitness coaching business as well as a sports media brand that creates podcasts, sells merchandise, and creates other exclusive content. This show is a place for me to document my thoughts on fitness, health, nutrition, maybe some business or mindset stuff, as well as update anyone listening on my own competitive fitness endeavors and life events. I want everybody that comes and listens to this show to take something away that can make their life better, whether it's a diet or fitness tip or a way of thinking about things that motivates you to be better in your own life. Hopefully we can get that done, but regardless, I'm glad you're here. Let's have a day. Let's go. We're back. Podcast. I'm just in the Discord right now. I don't know. You guys know what Discord is? You guys hip with the Discord? Over at the Washed Up Walk-Ons, if you're a fan of football, if you're a fan of the Hawkeyes, and somehow found the Snap podcast, but not the Washed Up Walk-Ons podcast. And further than that, the extra stuff that we do with the the Washed Up Walk-Ons Patreon, you can go over there and check all that stuff out. I'm just talking with our listeners one-on-one. We're just having conversations right now. Anyway, new routine for the Snap podcast. I'm pretty excited about such a thing that, like, pretty excited. Am I really that excited about it? I don't know. My life is all about efficiency and trying to find the best, most productive, but least stressful ways to manage the things that I need to get done. And I guess that's just a fancy word vomit way of describing how I think most people probably live their life. Although, I don't know, maybe some people just deal with stressful situations or like weekly tasks or daily tasks that they have to do and they don't optimize on how they would get those things done or kind of situate them throughout their day or week. I personally drink of water, love that. I personally like to do things. I love getting things done. I love productivity. I love doing things that I especially love to do and getting those done and feeling like they're productive and actually helping me make money or further a business or further the brand or whatever it may be. I absolutely hate when I waste time or something takes me longer than it needs to, something gets delayed, something doesn't go correctly in my eyes compared to what the way I think it should have gone. Sometimes this gets down to I'll go upstairs and make lunch during the day, and if I forget to throw on a podcast, which I listen to at 2x speed efficiency, then I'll get halfway through making lunch and I'll realize that the last 8 minutes of me, like, preparing food, I could have gotten through 16 minutes worth of podcast, and I didn't do that, and, it'll upset me a little bit. Am I autistic? Maybe. Probably. But anyway, part of this season, both, football season and season of life, is that I am very busy right now. Very busy Sunday afternoon through Thursday morning. I l I have mostly, at least for now, morphed my Fridays into a 3rd weekend day, at least for me personally. Is that selfish? Probably. Do I have the ability to do that? Yes. We can maybe dive into that a little bit more. Thursday, I'm still at the house working for most of the day. There's not as many things that are, like, pertinent, urgent, need me immediately. It's a lot of programming out into the future and things that aren't don't self little projects that I am working on, but don't really have a hard end date or like a deadline. So Sunday through Wednesday is a really, really busy time. I normally record this snapped podcast on Wednesdays. Wednesday happens to be the busiest of those days. The last couple weeks until I made this switch, I'm recording this on a Monday, by the way. That's where we're going with this. I have recorded 4 podcasts and edited all 4 of those podcasts and put them out, or at least scheduled them to be released, all on Wednesday. So I spend 3 to 4 hours talking on a microphone. I spend another 2 plus hours editing and producing those shows. And then I have to fit in the dad life, the training life, which is another 2 to 3 hour Wednesdays get pretty jam packed. So I just made a smart move and I said, well, Mondays are actually a little bit lesser of a day. Why don't we just move the Snap podcast recording, which is you guys know it's generally 15 to 30 minutes long. It takes me another 10 to 15 minutes to put it out. So we're talking about half an hour to 45 minutes of work. Why don't we just move that to Monday where it would fit a whole lot easier? And it makes me feel a little bit more productive on Mondays because Mondays are the start of the week. We're setting the tone. It gives me another thing to do, another thing to check off. But then when I get to Wednesdays, that day is also we've lightened the load. Makes me feel less stressed on Wednesdays. Makes me feel more productive, more efficient on my weekly to-do list. So here we are, recording on Monday, the 16th. You guys will hear this on Wednesday, the 18th. Hello from 2 days ago. And we're 7 minutes into the podcast. We've talked about nothing. Efficiency. Use that as your takeaway today. How can you make your life more efficient? I want to talk about a couple things that are on my long-term Snap podcast topic lists that I put down as bigger episodes, and I'm sure I could do longer, more kind of scheduled, outlined episodes on these, but I just have them sort of as notes. And there was 2 specifically that I wanna hit on. One of them is tracking food for long periods of time and the benefit of that long term, and then intermittent fasting, which is kind of how I got into the whole fitness space, or at least it was the first area that I dabbled with when I got into being an adult. I could do a whole episode on intermittent fasting. Probably gosh, I probably did work some of that into the very first episodes of this whole Snap podcast experiment, which for those who listen to the Snap podcast now and haven't gone back, because why would you? This podcast started as a mini series to document an experiment that I did with myself where I was working in a gym at the time. At our gym, we had a in-body uh, body composition scanner, and so I was able to do body fat testing whenever I wanted on myself, and I chose to do a 1-month long experiment that was self-serving in multiple ways. The main one being I like ice cream, and so I was intermittent fasting at the time. I did not eat breakfast at this time. I only ate lunch and dinner, essentially. Occasionally, I'd have an afternoon snack or protein shake or whatever it may be. Nutrition was actually horrible at this time. I was eating I've been eating over 3,000, most of the time over 3,500 calories, sometimes over 4,000 calories for basically the last 3 to 4 years. At this point in the podcast lifespan, I was doing I think I was eating something like 2,000 calories a day, either like 2,200 calories a day. I could go back and find it, which actually wraps us around back to the other point of tracking our food. I ate a pint of ice cream for lunch every day, and then I ate dinner. Normal dinner foods, whatever. And I proved that you can eat ice cream, a lot of ice cream, every single day. I did a different flavor, different brand every day too. And you could still lose weight, you could still lose body fat. And it was tough, but I did it and proved it with the in-body scan. I think I lost like 2 pounds and half a percentage of body fat in a month eating ice cream every day. And at the time, this was sort of a tangent, but at the time I was intermittent fasting. And part of the intermittent fasting benefit is when you only eat in a certain window, it makes it a lot harder generally to consume as many calories as you would if you were spreading out those meals across the day. Your body, your hunger levels, your satiety levels, how full you get off of a certain amount of food doesn't correlate exactly one to one with skipping a meal. So to say you're going to go from 3 meals to 2 meals and you skip breakfast, your hunger level or how full you get when you get to that lunch, you're going to be a little bit more hungry, but you're not going to be equally as hungry as exactly half of what you missed at breakfast. And then you're not go and now that you've eaten lunch, now your body has food in it, you're not going to carry that extra hunger level, those extra calorie desires from your body all the way to dinner. Most of the time, if you normally eat an 800 calorie breakfast, your body just simply is not going to make up that 800 calories during the lunch and dinner. So, unless you're intentionally doing it because you think intermittent fasting is magic, which is the point of bringing it up today in the podcast, is I used to think there was some autophagy, and I think there is at very extended fasts starting at 72 hours, but definitely not daily. Autophagy benefits, which is your cells kind of cleaning themselves out and getting rid of any of the dead or broken down cells at a quicker rate. There isn't any other weight loss benefits other than the calorie restriction, but I used it in a way that I learned a lot about myself. You teach yourself a little bit of mental toughness because you get into a groove of, and it's not really that hard, but in the beginning for a lot of people it is. It's like I don't know if I can do that. You stop eating at 6 or 7 p.m. the night before and tell yourself you're not going to eat until 11 or noon the next day. Start thinking about that and it weighs on you. You start to all of the sudden be a lot more hungry consciously than you thought or than you once were. But I learned a lot. My updated thoughts on intermittent fasting are just that. You're not going to see some magical weight loss benefit other than just restricting calories. So, if you have the ability, you could get the same benefit from eating 3 or 6 or 10 meals a day. You just have to equate your total calories. But it teaches you a lot. It fits with a lot of people's lifestyles because in today's unfortunate society of go, 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 get things done, productivity, so what I was talking about earlier, a lot of people don't even have time for breakfast. They'll just skip it or they'll grab something on the way to work. Convenience, right? So if you can just eliminate that meal altogether, it helps with the morning routine, cuts out 5, 10, who knows, 20 minutes of your morning that you have to worry about. And honestly, the biggest fasting benefit that I ever got was the realization of how sort of just numb we are to the daily shoveling of things into our mouth. I've done a 24-hour fast. I've done several 24-hour fasts. I've done one 72-hour fast. And you can call that intermittent fasting or a form of a little bit of an extended one. But again, the biggest thing, you just realize like, oh, I'm not actually gonna die if I don't eat. Right. And I think that's part of today's society is like we just eat too much and we don't even realize that we're eating too much. And then that's how we get to the overweight and obese issues that we have across the population today. Uh, s the other thing I wanted to quickly mention, as I had down as a note, was just tracking food long term and the benefits of that. And what I mean by that is not like 3 months or even 6 months, but say 2 years, 5 years. I have tracked on and off, I would say probably 70% of days, maybe 75% of the time over the last 10 years of my life. Starting in 2015, January of 2015, I started tracking my calories on MyFitnessPal. So at the end of 2024 here, that will mark 10 years of me tracking food. And yeah, I'd say for probably 7 or 7.5 of those years, you would find days in my app where I tracked what I ate. And you learn a lot when you track your food. It is drastically eye-opening. You don't even have to have an idea or a directive or a goal. You just start tracking and you start to learn how many calories are in this and how many calories are in that. And with the apps nowadays, they have all of the you can track restaurant food, you can track fast food. They have all of those nutritional uh, labels slash facts slash values loaded into their app. You just search it and it'll come up. Some of the stuff, a lot of the better stuff, because it doesn't have a label, it doesn't have a barcode. Whole foods, rice, potatoes, vegetables, meats. You can't just scan a can or a box to get the nutrition value to come up on that. So you just have to search it and get yourself a $10 food scale and weigh it. But there's been a lot of things over the last 10 years, which is really when I started to dive in on the personal side of things with my nutrition, which has now evolved into a career in fitness and nutrition. And there's one of the biggest disconnects as a person in the fitness and health space is everything that I try to teach people or help people with coaching wise is so obvious and easy to me, but it isn't to most people. And it's not hard stuff. They're the concepts and kind of nuances of nutrition, and it isn't hard stuff. But when it's not your life, when you're a when you work for a bank or some finance company, or you're a teacher, or you're working construction, like, you don't and this isn't your life, this isn't what you do, you actually don't understand how calories work, how to manipulate a diet, how to go up and down, reverse diet, cutting, bulking, calorie surplus, all these things. You don't understand. And so the way you start to learn is just monitor yourself and start to see how you feel, where your weight goes, how your clothes fit when you're eating this amount of food or this amount of, and the only way you know is if you track that food. So I think one of the biggest benefits that doesn't take a lot, right? It's 10 minutes a day of just inputting what you ate for the day. And as you get more comfortable with it, it gets faster. You can save foods. The foods that you've put in before will come up when you go to search it. So you can just, and oftentimes you're going to be eating the same. If you have any sort of consistency, which most people do, you'll be eating the same portions. It'll just go right into your diary. You can kind of see. And that's just my suggestion for the day. Lastly, on the Snap podcast today, we'll talk about a little disc golf. We are currently in the YTK disc golf fall extravaganza tour. Hashtag YOLO swag. That's all a joke, by the way. But because of one of my better friends from high school and my brother picking up disc golf around the COVID times, which is when a lot of people did as a hobby, I also got into it and kind of started to get into the disc golf scene, started to play, got myself a bag, got myself some discs, watched some disc golf content on YouTube here and again. And it turns out Iowa, Des Moines, where I live specifically, is a nice little disc golf hub. there's probably 15 very playable, serviceable courses within 20 miles of me. And so in the summer, I don't really play a lot because in the summer, we've talked about it. I basically don't do anything but spend time with the wife and kid. Nothing else is worth it to me. But during the season being the school season, the football season right now, on Fridays when the kid is still at daycare in the afternoon and the wife is still at work until 3 and the weekend starts, and I don't really have a whole lot of work to do. I've made it into a weekend day. I go out and I find a different course every week and I play. And last week was week 4 of the fall tour. I'm trying to hit a different course every week. We've played the course that is quite literally half a mile from my house. That's always nice. We went to Iowa City for a live show for the walk-ons. We played their course, which is one of the best courses in Iowa. We played a course here in Clive, Urbandale-ish. That's about probably 5 to 10 miles north of the house. And I went 2 down on 13 holes. It's not an easy course by any means, and I played the long tees. Nobody cares about any of this, but I'm just gonna start giving a disc golf update because it's a weekly thing that I do, and so is Snapped. And my boy Justin, who I saw this weekend, was like, "Yeah, you should recap your disc golf round." So here I am. Played Waterford Disc Golf Course. It is a par 43. I shot 41, and that was with 2 hazard shots where I had to take a stroke. And the game is pretty dull right now. I ordered 4 more discs halfway because I lost a couple, because that's what you do in disc golf, and halfway because as you get a little bit better, you start to get, certain discs fly differently. You gotta get, you gotta add clubs to your bag, right? And so those should be arriving this week. Should get to test them out this weekend. Even better this weekend, my brothers and family will be coming on Saturday, and we might do a little disc golf round on Saturday after I play on Friday. So we're gonna get 2 rounds in this week. And I don't know where I'm gonna go. I think we've got a new 18-hole course that I've never played, that is, 10 miles south of us here, called Southwoods. 18 holes, never played it before. Brother has played it, said it's hard. It's a wooded course, so I'm intrigued to see what we can go and shoot on that. But, like CrossFit, like whatever, disc golf has become a little side hobby, a little side quest of learning and trying to be better at, and, that's what this show is all about. It's just trying to get better at what you love to do each and every day. There's no excuses. You have to go and get better. If you don't, you're average. Don't be average, be savage. That's so not cool to say. That's just so quirky, just so corny. But seriously, your excuses aren't valid. Get it done. I'll talk to you next week.